Bruno Fernandes is not happy. We're talking Oliver Glasner to Manchester United as well after an important night for Crystal Palace in Europe. What's going to happen with Ruben Amorim? Of course, I want your opinions. I want your views on all these topics. Make sure you've hit the like button. Make sure you are subscribing. Make sure you've got that bell notification turned on as well. Welcome back to the United Stand, the very best place for all your Man United news, updates, views, and opinions. So looking forward to hearing from all of you this evening in what I think are massive matters indeed. You guys are saying it's muted. Is it muted? Is it? It's not muted in my end, but let me know. Thank you very much for tuning in. Really appreciate it massively. So much to go through, so much to talk about tonight. If you are wondering who I am, where have you been for the past 6 months? I'm Terry Flewers, resident member. Well, not resident. I'm part of the furniture now at the United Stand. So calm yourselves down, sit back, grab a cup of tea, grab a drink. I've got a little bit of Diet Coke here. Have a little sip of that, sit yourself down and enjoy the next 50 to 60 minutes or so. Look, there's a lot to talk about tonight. There's a lot to go through tonight. There's a lot to speak on. Ben Jacobs with some, in my opinion, massive updates. Some huge updates, really, in the past sort of 6-7 hours or so in relation to the future of Ruben Amorim. And one of the significant things that stood out to me, and listen, I've got a lot of time and respect for Ben Jacobs as a journalist. Me and him have worked together for many years on my channel. We met in Qatar and went out and had food, and a very respectable, very honourable guy. He's always going to report things as he's told them, and he's going to be as unbiased as possible, and he's going to be a professional journalist. But I'm going to give you what I think are the hard truths on what he said, my interpretation of what's going on behind the scenes. I want to start with the Bruno Fernandes situation, because these situations worry me. These situations are concerns for me, and I want to know whether you share that, whether you echo that, whether you feel the same as well. And his comments on Bruno Fernandes read as thus. He said, Bruno Fernandes, he said, I wouldn't call him unhappy with his manager. He's unhappy at playing in that deeper role. And there was a number of updates like this today. He also said, and I want to read you this quote from Ben Jacobs, that the players that I'm told are frustrated are more frustrated with the form and more frustrated with the underperformance and more frustrated perhaps at their tactical role. But there's nothing personal between the players and the manager in terms of a major fallout. He still has the dressing room, but there are doubts, perhaps over individual roles and tactics. And listen, I'm not stating that Ben Jacobs is saying they're downing tools, because they respect Amorim as a man. They like his character. They like his personality. He's clearly not mistreating anybody. I'm basing everything I'm going to say on this show, by the way, is based on these reports. He's clearly, so I might have a different view if Laurie Whitwell comes out with something different tomorrow, if Fabrizio says something different tomorrow. I'm giving you my views based on what Ben Jacobs is saying at this particular moment. He's stating that the players don't dislike the manager. They haven't fallen out with the manager. They or anything along those lines. What they're essentially stating is they don't like where they're being played. And you could be cynical and say, well, maybe Bruno Fernandes reads social media. Maybe he can see that fans are crazy, going crazy that he's in the 8 role. So Bruno and his team brief that he's very unhappy playing in that deeper role because it might win him some sympathy for some poor performances. I get that view. But I can't imagine that Bruno is enjoying that role. Now, we don't know who the other players are. We don't know whether Mbeumo's enjoying playing in the inside 10 role. We don't know whether Dorgu's enjoying being a fullback, Ahmad in a fullback role. We don't know whether Luke Shaw hates playing in a 3. We don't know the specifics. We can only speak about Bruno specifically because Ben Jacobs has mentioned him. But this is concerning to me. This is worrying to me that the players are publicly now stating they doubt this. I don't like the fact this has come out. I don't blame Ben for it. It's Ben's job to dig. It's Ben's job to find out information. We kind of want the information, but it is a frustration that is coming out. But if you look at how we've titled the video tonight, I think it's very, very significant. Bruno wants change. Doesn't mean he wants the managers to go. He wants the manager to make a change. And I think there's something so significant in this. I'm someone that doesn't want a manager to yield on their principles. I don't want a manager to bow down to the players and let them get away with murder, as I think previous managers have done. I don't want the adaptation to be, all right, Bruno, where do you want to play? And by the way, the other players I'm about to name are pure examples, so no one get your knickers in a twist. Mbuma, where do you want to play? Ahmad, where's your best position? You don't want to track back? That's okay. You don't want to play it from the back? It's fine, we'll go long. Oh, you don't want to be a sweeper keeper? That's okay, my friend. Okay, I was thinking 4-3-3. No, it has to be 4-2-3-1. Yeah, but it won't work because I don't want him to be dictated to. There are some times where a manager has to be almost autocratic. But you have to blend that in with a little bit of democracy at times when you're in charge. And part of me is I'm in this state of mind now where if we beat Sunderland on Saturday, do I believe that's the beginning of the new dawn? No. Unless Bruno gets the change he wants. Unless we go 4-3-3. And Bruno plays in an 8. And Mainu's in the team. And Cass or Ugate's holding. And Mbumo's out wide. I imagine it works. And we win 3-0 and the players look good. There is a way that works. There is a possibility it works. There's always a possibility. Could the adaptation be there? Is he going to listen to his players? Now, don't listen too much. Sometimes in life, you give an inch, people take a mile. You can't allow that to happen because you've got to stay in charge. But it's an interesting update. And remember, everything I'm saying to you is based on the Ben Jacobs update. If they like the manager, if they're working hard for him, if they don't dislike him, if they're just frustrated at some of the tactics, some of the positions they're in, Ruben does have a chance here. He's got a chance to save himself. Some will say he doesn't deserve it, and I understand that argument. But he has a chance. The issue that you have is if he just sticks to what he's doing, keeps the players in positions they don't want to be in, plays in a way the fans don't want to see, keeps failing, I mean, he is just going to lose his job. And what was very interesting was another update that came from him. I'm going to go to your comments in a minute. Is when he said, and this was such an interesting quote here. He said the only two real areas where, sorry, no, that's the wrong one. It said, because I think the yardstick for whether Amorim stays or goes will not be about the senior hierarchy trying to back someone that they felt would work and still feel can work. Now, we keep seeing from the Man United specific press do this whole thing of Sir Jim wants to give him a season. Sir Jim wants to give him a season. We've heard some journalists say, not journalists actually, the football pundits like Jamie Carragher say the reason he hasn't been sacked yet is because Ineos are embarrassed and don't want to sack him. In fairness, that flies in the face of what's gone on at Nice. They've actually sacked a lot of managers at Nice, which also got criticism. So I don't necessarily know if that's true. But I hope what Ben says here is right. I hope the reason we're waiting is because they feel that the squad is much better than it's performing and some slight adjustments will improve things, but they feel that the manager has to himself make those changes, and if he doesn't, he'll die on his sword. Because I also I want owners to sort of push the manager into how we sort of want to play, as in stylistically, and I want them to force the manager into this is the profiles the club's buying, but I do agree that the ownership shouldn't be in the dressing room picking the team and the formation. I just don't agree with that notion, point blank. And I've seen Chelsea fans get very angry when Todd Bowley's been in the dressing room and things like that. Even when, like, Roman would turn up to training. I remember being younger and Chelsea fans were like, it's not really where he's meant to be. You hire a manager to manage that circumstance. If you're not happy, sack him, etc. But I hope that's true what Ben said, that they're not, the only reason they're holding on, they're not holding on because they want to prove they were right. It's they still think there is the possibility of coming out of this. But I think the only way now is an adaptation. Not bowing down to the players, but an adaptation. I'd love to know what you think and feel. Let's jump into some of your comments here. Rishhan here says, we need to stop building around Bruno. He's been the centerpiece for 4 managers in the worst seasons of the club. Sell him, build for the future. I understand where you're coming from. I don't think it's about building around Bruno. I sort of semi-agree with you. But Bruno Fernandes, just like Rashford and Højlund and Pogba and Rooney and McTominay, and we can keep naming players, Bruno isn't the problem. The position he's being played in right now is an issue, but Bruno Fernandes isn't the problem. If Bruno left today and Belieber came in, we might get better slightly, but there's still massive holes, and I think we need to be very, very mindful of that. But I do agree. I wouldn't be thinking about him as a centrepiece due to his age now. We need to think longer term. And I actually feel that again, it depends what we do formation-wise, because if suddenly we move in Mbumos and Cunha's out wide, that 10 position opens. And what I will say about Bruno is there are very few 10s in the world that are retainable that are better than him. Terry, it's too simplistic to say Deadwood will be great for the first 3 months under a new manager. Then they'll get new contracts and survive again. Yeah, listen, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I really enjoyed last night reading the comments of the show back, because some people were acting like I was pure Amorim in and saying that he's got to stay no matter what. Others were saying I'm a pure Amorim outer and I'm not thinking about the board, the ownership, the debt and the squad issues. And I had to laugh to myself and think, how have you watched that content last night and your thought has been, Terry's either one of those two things, especially as at the beginning I denounced myself from both groups, as I think both groups are fundamentally wrong about what will help this club move forward. They have some comments that are correct, but their overarching views on how to make us a better team I think are fundamentally wrong. I also agree with you. And you look at Oliver Glasner. So the report that's come out today, again from Ben Jacobs, is that with Glasner, I do genuinely think that he would leave Crystal Palace if he was offered the Manchester United role mid-season. It's also been stated today that Glasner has turned down a new deal at Palace now on a couple of occasions. There is a feeling that he wants a bigger opportunity and would jump at the chance of a Man United. Now, you could argue he's crazy to leave a Crystal Palace when they are flying up the table, they're doing well in Europe, they've just won a trophy. But at the same time, it's a debate that I said I'm no longer having after this summer, and I just won't personally participate in it as best I can, that why would anyone ever pick Man United? We've had that said about every signing for the past decade, and people still come here. There is an attraction that this club has and will always have, or at least will have for the next 20 or 30 years. And I think what's really interesting is this. It all depends on how good or bad you think the build has been at the club. Genuinely. If you think... So I was saying this the other day about the Amorim outers. Most of them are also Ineos outers, don't like Ineos, don't like the recruitment, don't like the sporting directors, but yet they have this weird belief that things are going to be okay with the new manager. I don't even see how that's plausible if the people picking the manager and building a squad for that manager you also think are bad. That's why if you're in that mindset, being excited about Amorim going is you're jumping from the frying pan into the fryer based on your own logic. Emily here says, we get Emily's comment, says the ownership should be asking the question of Amorim, allowing for your principles and ideas. What can you change or adapt to change the situation you are in and improve performance? I absolutely agree. Absolutely legendary comment. It's not about succumbing to what the players want 100%. It's about adapting what you've got, finding not even a 50-50 hybrid model. It could be 70-30, 80-20 in your favour, but something somewhere has got to give. I really agree with you there, Emily. Reese here says, please pray for the families of the synagogue attack in Manchester today. This community always acknowledges such tragedies. I'm disturbed by the silence about what is happening today. Please show your care if it matters. Look, for me, my prayers are always with innocent people, no matter their denomination, no matter their background, no matter what they do. When it comes to losing their life, I haven't actually read too much about this today, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. I haven't read the ins and outs. I've just seen some footages. I've just been so busy today. I'm going to sit down tonight after I finish here and have more of a read. But of course, anyone who's been hurt, injured, life taken today, heartfelt sorrow, condolences, and of course prayers go to them. The same with any of these types of incidents anywhere in the world. Horrendous, absolutely horrendous on every single level. So yes, massive prayers. There's a super chat here from Lee, who says, Jacobs saying we are after Glasner but plays the same system as Amorim makes no sense. Well, It makes sense from the perspective that maybe again, it all depends on what you believe in. Now, will Glasner play the same? I mean, if he comes in and plays the same system, we're just as bad. Then you look at it and go, well, is it three dud managers in the bounce under Ineos? Because they did keep Ten Hag, give him a new deal, so he's their manager as well. Is it three dud managers on the bounce? Is their squad build bad? Is it the managers were fine, but the players weren't good enough? You've got to remember, we went through these facts last night. Winning back-to-back games in the Prem has been going on for the 9 months. We won two back-to-back games once in 9 months before Amorim arrived. Our win percentage was 31%. From the February of 2024, why February, you may ask? That was the last time we had any hope. We won 4 games on the bounce, and there was hope we were going in the right direction. The win percentage from then to the Amorim coming in was 31%. His is 36%. So there's been no improvement. He didn't necessarily take us down to that level. There's just been no improvement to where we fell to. That could be the coach solely. I don't believe it's 100% the coach, either Ten Hag or Ruben Amorim. I believe this squad's still got massive holes in it from where we want to be. And I think it's important to remember that. Can Glasner actually get us playing like Palace do? I've got my doubts. Genuinely, I like him as a manager. I think he's done fantastic. But I'm not sitting here excited. I'm not excited at all. It's weird, right? I'd be more excited about a dead manager. I'd be more excited short-term about a Southgate than I would be a Xavi, an Areola, or Oliver Glasner. Because I look at what those guys have done at Barca, what they've done at Bournemouth, what they've done at Palace, and I look at the profiles, I look at the athleticism, I look at the technical ability of our squad, and I don't see how you can marry it up and think we're going to get close to... You look at Palace and how physical, how strong, how quick they are. We don't have a midfielder like Adam Wharton. I worry. I worry that the expectations will grow rapidly. We won't match them. There'll be another forest fire, and we won't be able to put it out again. It really worries me hugely. It really, really does. Glasner plays the same formation, not the same system as Amorim, but it's irrelevant because he won't join us in the middle of a season. But that isn't true, Mick. That's from Mick Red. Mick, there is no indication, there is no evidence, there is nothing to suggest that he wouldn't join mid-season. In fact, all the reports that we've currently seen, not only about Oliver Glasner, but also Xavi, is they'd be very willing to join Manchester United. You've also got to look at it this way, whether or not he thinks he can fix us or not, what he'll get paid at Manchester United in say he gets a 3-year deal, or he'll probably be 2.5. If he lost his job at any point in that 2.5 years, it's more than he'll probably earn at Palace in the next 5, 6, 7 years. So from a financial standpoint, I don't see why we'd turn it down. I really, really don't. It's interesting as well what Ineos have also stated via Ben Jacobs today. And I think this is significant. It says here that Ineos, because I don't think anyone at Manchester United within the leadership, that's Ineos and their board, have any issues with Ruben off the field. His honesty and candour is refreshing. He wears his heart on his sleeve, and he's very clear with his players. And I think all of this is really, really good. And the one thing I like about all these reports today, that things are quite harmonious on a personal level between board, manager, player, manager, is if we do decide to move on, I do hope one thing I hope Ruben does, wouldn't hold him to it, but I do hope he just quits and says, I don't want any severance. I do, because we need every penny we can get. We really do. This here says, you're only live once, and I'm so happy Joel Glazer is looking after you only live once, and I'm so happy that Joel Glazer is looking after my club that the city of Manchester has ruined for 147 years. Cheers, mate. Great comment. Well done. How long did it take you to think of that? Genuinely, how long did it take you to think of saying that? Brilliant comment, my friend. Brilliant comment indeed. Delo and Bruno are mediocre. They're not the only two. I mean, just sit here now, and I want you guys to write in the comment section. Write down for us all the players that you think are mediocre in the Man United team. You'll get loads. You'll genuinely be able to name loads. I don't think Bruno Fernandes is mediocre. I actually think he's a very good football player when played in the 10. I also think with Bruno Fernandes that ever since Cristiano Ronaldo arrived and his role slightly changed because of the type of 9 he was, he's never been as good. He had a very good season last year when he went back to the 10. But if you play Bruno in an out-and-out 10, with a really good midfield behind him that can hold possession, fast wingers on either side, and a very competent young number 9, Bruno would still shine. Bruno would kill it. But Delo isn't good enough. Maguire isn't good enough. Shaw isn't good enough. Bayandera isn't good enough. So far, Dorgu hasn't proven that he's good enough. Cass isn't good enough anymore. He's got too old. Ugarte, I was hoping he would be. Even as a holding midfield player. He had some good games last year, to be fair. But I still want more from him. Cunha and Mbumo, Sheshko, jury is still out on them, same as Lemaines. I think Ahmad is good enough for us. And then who's left? Like, what players? Mount isn't good enough. Who am I missing? Like, genuinely answer that question for me on a real level. Who am I missing out? Who am I missing out? Maz and De Ligt are good enough. I think Maz and De Ligt have been good. Xerxes, he had a really good second half of the season, and I was excited, but I haven't seen enough since. But the jury's still out. Who else is good enough? So when you go through it, my list of players that are good enough, I'm going to write them down. Bruno, in the 10. Ahmad. De Ligt. Mads. Who else is actually good enough? Yoro, yes, you're right. Yoro. Mainu. Okay. Who else? Who has proven to be good enough? And what we'll do is we'll put the 4 new signings, okay, into the list because they've not disproven it or proven it. But who else has proven they're good enough? Delo, no, not good enough. Martinez, yep, I like Martinez. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, plus the 4, so 11 players. 11 players. From a 23-man squad. 11 players from a 23-man squad. 53% have still got to go. Look, Aiden Heaven, jury's still... maybe Aiden Heaven. Maybe Aiden Heaven. So you could throw that up to 50% maybe the squad. Give or take. Leon hasn't proven it yet. He hasn't even kicked a ball at pro level. So I can't put him onto that list. And look, when you go through the players that we all say are good enough... Some are saying sell Bruno Fernandes. So you might remove him from this. You know, this is why I said to people 18 months ago, 80 to 90% of that squad from 18 months ago had to go. We're some way into that. But when I go through that squad and I go through those players on there that we think are good enough, how many have the physicality and technical ability that Areola, Xavi, and Glasner's teams have? Genuinely, how many can fit the mould? Not many. That's why I'm not excited. It isn't because of course I'd love us to win more games. And I go, great. What I'm not excited about is the conversations about this actually. Because I know how long this is still going to take to fix, even if we start winning more games. I don't believe the people that say they'd be calmer if we won a few more matches. I don't believe them. It worries me. Hi, Terry. Our biggest problem is Bruno. He is the most inconsistent player, and when he is not performing, the whole team suffers. See, Franklin, I respect the opinion, but do you know why I'm pushing back? I'm just going to say 2 names. I'm going to say Højlund and Rashford. I could throw in McTominay into this mix. We do this all the time. They were the biggest problems at one point. They're gone. We haven't got better. We've got worse. I don't think because they've left, we've got worse. I don't think if they'd have stayed in the team, we'd have got much better. They had to go. But this idea that individual players are the main problem isn't true. The same as if, let's just say I'm wrong about this. I said it last night, I'll say it again now. Let's just say Oliver Glasner comes in and we start winning. We get better and better and there is exponential growth for the next 18 months. Get back into title races. Oh, Terry, man, you were wrong. You were wrong. I'll say, no, well, I'd say, so are you. Because a lot of people, and ironically, Mark was teasing me earlier on this week that I was wrong to back Ineos or give in what I actually did was give Ineos time. But if a new manager comes in and we improve instantly, and what we've added to the squad's actually so much better than we realise, the culture's better, the behaviour's better, the recruitment's been amazing, then it would prove that people like myself that didn't think Ineos were always doing a horrendous job, although we've criticised them for their mistakes, it would prove that all those people were wrong. And a lot of those people also want the manager to be gone, right? And we could all play this game of who's right, who's wrong. And I don't want to do that. But the only way a manager genuinely comes in and we shoot up and keep getting better is if all those other things that people call, if Glinios have fixed all those things behind the scenes. It's the only way that's going to happen. How do I know this to be a cast iron fact? There's no successful team in England that's run poorly. There isn't. You can't find me any continuously successful team in England who's run badly. Who? Who are they? Keep saying who. I sound like an owl. They don't exist. So this is why I want us to have honest, in-depth conversations about this. Because there's no silver bullet. And even if you're like, do you know what, Terry? And I said this a few days ago on a stream on my channel, Terry Flewers TV. I said that we need to, the first thing I'm going to focus on when the new manager comes in is, can we start playing better football? Let's focus on that first. Let's get that done. Then go, right, tick. Let's move on to the next thing. But that doesn't mean that next thing doesn't exist. I need the fans to remember that the next stage is improving the squad. And that's still going to take 2 or 3 windows. And hopefully we get the results. Hopefully the fans stay patient. Hopefully we push back against the media that will want to burn us down. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. Look at United's squad against Arsenal when they won 8-2 many moons ago. It was a poor team, really. Coaching and winning mentality from the top down. We don't have that anymore. Well, let's test your theory. Let's test your theory on that, okay? Let's test your theory. Let's go back and look at those lineups. You've also got to consider what Arsenal's lineup was as well, right? So Arsenal had like Coquelin holding, right? They had Traore at left back that they sold the next day. Giroud as their centre back. So Arsenal's team, don't think Arsenal wasn't what it is now. They were awful, okay? Awful. The only players on that pitch that genuinely were top players, Van Persie, Arshavin was good, Rosicky was good, Wilcott was decent, Ramsey was decent. Man United's team, though, Cleverley and Anderson in central midfield. Not very good, but so much better than Arsenal's midfield that day. Okay? We have no one currently in our team that's as good as Wayne Rooney. Nani was, in my opinion, was up there with their current wide players. Okay? Ashley Young at that point. Ashley Young, at the age he is then, would walk into our team now. The back line, we had David De Gea in goal when he was very, very good. Patrice Evra at left back. Okay, one of the best left backs in Premier League history. We had a young Johnny Evans. This Johnny Evans as an old man was playing in this team last year. This was when he was young and brilliant. We had a young Chris Smalling and a young Phil Jones. This was Phil Jones before the injuries. People forget how good Phil Jones was when he first came to us. And again, Chris Smalling and Phil Jones, at that age, I'd pick them over most of our current centre-backs. Equally, we were playing against a very poor Arsenal team. But we were coached by the greatest manager of all time, so you've got to factor that in. But I look at that, and Danny Welbeck played. Danny Welbeck, Wayne Rooney, Ashley Young, Anderson, Nani, Evra, De Gea, Smalling, Jones, and probably Evans at that point. Maybe not Evans, because there's 3 centre-backs. At least 7 or 8 of those players get into today's team. Get into the team. So, equally, we weren't playing the Arsenal of today. You'd never beat you go back, that Arsenal team used to get slapped up all the time. Good point, Terry. I meant it wasn't a great squad either. I was going back to the club. Now, listen, I hear with you. It wasn't our greatest. It wasn't our greatest ever team. No, but the squad that year wasn't too bad, if I remember correctly. That was the Aguero year, wasn't it? We still had some very good players that in that squad. Let's just go back and look at that. Man United 2011-12 squad. I know this summer we obviously went and bought Van Persie. Let's go and have a little look who was in our squad that year. So we had De Gea and Lindegaard. We still had Vidic at the club. We had Vidic, defence-wise, we had Vidic, Jones, Smalling, Evans, Rio, young Michael Keane, young Reece Brown as well. Patrice Evra in that team. We had Antonio Valencia, Ashley Young. We had Rafael da Silva, Fabio da Silva. We had Michael Carrick, Anderson, Darren Fletcher, Tom Cleverley. Young Paul Pogba was actually at the club that year. Paul Scholes came back halfway through that season, I think. Maybe it was the year after, but he came back. We had Ryan Giggs. We had Park Ji-sung. We had a young Jesse Lingard. I don't know if he played that year, though. We had Nani, Rooney, Chicharito, Danny Welbeck, Dimitar Berbatov. Coming on from the bench for us that year, we had Michael Owens and Federico Macedas and whatever else. So, as I say, that squad, I'd take that squad in a heartbeat over this one. In a heartbeat. It wasn't our best ever squad, and we improved it the next year by adding Van Persie and Sinji, but yeah, loads. This here says Glasner won't come to United. But there's no evidence of what you're saying is true. There's absolutely no evidence whatsoever. In fact, most of the reports have said that he would. There's a different debate to be had. The debate is whether or not he is sensible to come to Man United. There's a debate whether or not that would be a bad decision from him. But the idea that he wouldn't come, I don't agree with this. I don't think it is the cast iron truth that he wouldn't come to Manchester United. In fact, I think the complete opposite. I think there's a genuine chance that he would join Man United. And the only bit about it I'm upset about is I have no excitement about the idea. I have no excitement. It doesn't excite me, not because of him. He's done an excellent job at Frankfurt. He's done amazingly at Crystal Palace. I hope, I pray that he comes into United, he gets the very best out of what he's got, makes us sustainable, hard to beat, play better, gives us a nice foundation to start adding better players into, and then I hope he achieves that. So then hopefully the fan base has no excuse but to give him time for the squad to grow. Because I've had debates with people recently. Terry, you can't keep saying it's 3 or 4 years to improve the team. It is to get to the level that I'll be satisfied at. You may have a different level of satisfaction, and we can have that conversation, but I'm not going to yield on my beliefs because you see something different. This here says a lot of managers will see how poor Amorim has performed and think, of course, I could do better. Even with the wider problems at the club, I don't think most experienced managers would be wrong. Yeah, listen, I don't disagree. I think Glasner could get us up to a 50%, 55% win ratio. I think he could. And if you actually add that up over a season, right? So if you divide 38 games by 55, you minus 55%. What the hell have I gone and done here? So it's 39 minus 55%. Okay, it's 21 games. If you actually won us 21 football matches, that'd be 63 points. Okay, you maybe add, I don't know, 5 draws into that as well. You'd have 68 points. 68 points as an example, just to go by. If we go by last season as a little bit of a yardstick, that amount of points would have got you between that would have got you 5th in the league last year. Is that plausible? Yes, I could see that happening. But I've also seen other managers get us to that level and the fan base lose their minds, call them frauds, call them liars, call them cheats, and go crazy. My hope is that we can maintain patience if someone gets us back to that level whilst we build the squad out. I just don't know if we will, because I think social media dictates that people need to push certain agendas because it's the only way they get noticed. And then the media jump on it, they start a massive forest fire, and then everything gets burnt down. I worry, man. I worry. Glasner is a mini Mourinho. I hope so. I never wanted Ten Hag sacked, but I still backed Amorim all of last season, becoming really distant from the team right now. I understand that feeling, my friend. I do. Okay, hear me out. Past 3 seasons with Erik Ten Hag in charge with a better squad overall, we got 12, 9, 7 points in the first 6 games against one top 6 team in every single season. Yeah, it got worse, didn't it? Which is why I can't just why I don't sit there and do the whole Amorim is 100% to blame, because you can see this steady regression, and there's more at play here, in my opinion. I do hope I'm wrong. I do hope it's just the manager. I just don't believe it. And I'm a little bit of a I need to see before I believe type person. Black Moustache here says, delusional to think a manager can magically do that. These players aren't it. Well, I didn't think that Glasner could magically do it, but look, we're currently winning at 36%. Could we improve that win ratio by 20%? Could we win, okay, one more one more game out of 5? Could we add one more win in 5 to our record? Maybe. Could we add 2 more wins in 5? Maybe. And the reason why I think that's plausible is a lot of games last year and this year we were the better team in and could have won. Now, if the manager's the reason for that, a better coach should be able to improve that. If another guy comes in and the win ratio stays the same and we dominate games, don't score, concede, make weak mistakes, that's when I, again, go, 3 managers running? Maybe we're the worst club in the world at picking managers, or maybe we're the worst club in the world at recruiting squads. Maybe it's both, right? Maybe it's a combination of the two. I just don't think it's this silver bullet solution like everybody keeps making out. We need a manager who can rebuild like Glasner and Areola or Klopp. We need a sporting director that can build us, but we need a manager to bring it to life is what we need. This here says, I wouldn't want to sack Amorim. Nah, it will just make us more broke. But why can't somebody close to him say something? It's like the guy doesn't listen to reason or logic, but speaks it well. He's kind of alluded to this, though, hasn't he? I think he sort of said, the more you tell me to do something, the less I'm going to do it. There's this adage that all fathers get told this, even when your daughters are young. You always get this advice from older dads who say, listen, you know, you look a good dad, you've got a great relationship with your daughter. It can happen with your sons, but it's always a conversation men that have got daughters have when you have a daughter. It's as she gets older, you know, if she starts dating or seeing a boy that you think's a little bit of a bad lad, you don't really want her around, don't hard stop it. Don't sort of make it the tainted fruit, the forbidden fruit, sorry. Don't make it a big him or us type thing, because what that can often do is like push your child to doing that thing that you consider bad, because children naturally rebel. And I liken it to that in my mind, where I think to be a top-level coach, to be a top-level manager, I think you need to be able to... There's a certain level of pig-headedness you need, because you can't be thick-skinned. You can't be a top-level head coach without being terribly thick-skinned. You can't be terribly thick-skinned without having an element of pig-headedness about you. So you add those things together, and when one of those people starts to fail, we've said this about multiple Man United managers, and we've also said this about multiple managers of other clubs. Why don't you make this little tweak? Why didn't you just communicate a bit better? Why didn't you just do this or just do that? Sometimes there is like an arrogance. And when you have a job, by the way, and I can't speak for managers at the lower level that earn less, but there's this element where all of these managers that manage top clubs, that one contract and being sacked from that contract, they never have to work again. Most of them don't have to work again financially. They're already rich through being footballers, a lot of them. And then, if I get sacked, I get £8 million payout, I'm sorted. So there is this element of, in real life, if you're not doing a good job, you may be dead against what your boss is saying. But you think, well, I can't afford to lose my job. I won't be able to pay the mortgage. I won't be able to feed my children. You have to yield, no matter how pig-headed you are. Some don't and ruin their lives. But these managers, they don't ruin their lives by being pig-headed. So because they've already got that thick skin, because they've already got that that pig-headedness and that autocratic nature to be those leaders, I think they dig their heels in. Now, it's to their detriment. I'm not defending them, but I understand it. I think it's part of the psychology of being a manager. And I would love to talk to top coaches about this. Like, do they ever feel like there's a time in their career where, had it gone wrong, they would have never recovered and never came back from it? But because a couple of results went right, or because their board bought them the right player that helped bring it alive, they've gone from strength to strength and now looked at as a legend. But was there a moment where it could have gone in the other direction 1,000%? We've seen managers do brilliantly, in Spain or Portugal or smaller clubs in England, go to a big team and never recover. Never recover. Like, you look at Villas-Boas, what he was doing in Portugal, joins Chelsea, never been the same guy since. Loads of managers do it. Sometimes it's almost like it. So some people say, all your coaches, Terry, when they've left, they haven't become great coaches elsewhere. I think it's because they damage themselves, maybe even their own reputation so much. Everywhere else they go, they're looked at through a new prism. They're looked at in a new way. Maybe they've ruined themselves by being that pig-headed. But I would love... Again, I don't have the answers to this. It's just that, you know, we're spitballing here. We're thinking out loud. I wonder if there's something in that. I wonder. Last two managers did not have experience in a top 4 league, neither playing or managing. It's odd recruitment for the most high-pressure job in English football. That's also a great point. And it's a completely separate thing to what I'm talking about. But the one thing about Areola, the one thing about Glasner, the one thing about Xavi is they have managed in the hardest league in the world. I don't know the playing career of the other two, but I'm assuming Areola played football in Spain. Just being Spanish. I know that's you shouldn't assume in this day and age, because you can often look silly. Let me just check. He must have done. He must have done. Here he is. Let's go and have a look. Let's go and have a look where he played football. I mean, he played for Spain. Jesus. Did he play for Spain during their peak era? I didn't even know that. He played for... Do you know what's crazy? Not only did he play for Bilbao, this man must have been part of the team that knocked Manchester United out of the Europa League and stuff. I just didn't remember his name. He ain't even that old at 43. But yeah, you look at his career, fantastic. As a player, yeah, he won. Great career. So yeah, he's played there as well. I didn't know that. I probably should know that, but I didn't. And Llorente was on that team. Yeah, Llorente was a player. So he actually played for Spain. He only played a few games for them, but so hard for him to play inside in that era. He was a right back. It's weird, really. I need to see him I need to Google him as a player. I need to Google him as a player and see his face. You know, sometimes when it comes to managers, I don't remember them until I see their face in a kit, and I'm like, oh yeah, him. Let me see him. No, I don't remember him. No, I don't remember him. I don't remember seeing him play. Maybe no. See, this picture I kind of does stand out a bit, but there we go. Anyway. Let's put him in versus Man United, because I remember that game in Bilbao. It's horrible. Oh, yeah, look, there he is. See, seeing him in that green kit, it brings back horrible memories. But anyway, back to that great point that was being made. Managing and playing at this level, I think, would be a help. And the one... I know we brought Jose in, but I do think Jose was past his best when he came to Man United, unfortunately. And there was other issues going on. The one thing we haven't done since Jose is bring a manager in with genuine Premier League experience who's been successful here. Successful to his... I think what Areola and Glasner are doing is success on a pound-for-pound level. We haven't done that. So that could be the ticket. And I hope it does. Listen, I hope they come in and we improve and we get better. I really do. Back to some more of these quotes that came out today. This one was really interesting, though. He spoke about Adam Wharton a little bit as well today. And he says, I'm told there is a kind of a gentleman's agreement that next summer, if Wharton doesn't sign a new deal, he will leave for somewhere in the region of 60 to 65 million pound. Now, that is a bargain. And that's what Beth has said here in the comments. Says bargain. And that's also where, if you are looking at Glasner, it makes getting Wharton so much easier. Because if there's a gentleman's agreement in place, you know, Glasner can have that little word in his ear and say, listen, play your heart out this year. I'm coming for you in the summer. I wouldn't even mind raiding a few. I know Palace fans won't appreciate me for saying this, but I wouldn't mind raiding a couple of their players, bringing in their manager. Be a great thing to do. Tom Yaxley, thank you very, very much for the super sticker. £50 donation is absolutely amazing. So thank you for supporting the United stand so amazingly well. That's huge. Thank you very much indeed. I appreciate that massively. Terry, why would Wharton do that? Again, not having those debates. Why would players join the biggest club in England? I don't know. Who would be the other person I would take? Oh, there's so many. Wharton's right at the top of my list. Gahey's up there. Mateta's up there. The right back. Is it Manus? Manus? Is that how you pronounce it? Because I hear it said different ways all the time. But yeah, I like him. Who's the fullback? Munoz. Daniel Munoz. Is that how you pronounce it right? Yeah, he's very good. Colombian. I like him. 29. But yeah, when people say things like, why would those players join your club? I'm not debating it anymore. I'm sorry to say it. I'm just going to refer you to the summer shows where we spoke about it. So you say Sarr, and I wouldn't go for... I like Sarr, but I wouldn't go for Sarr, personally. He actually scored tonight, actually. Munoz. He scored this evening. Very, very talented player. I just want to look here at his career, because how long has he been there at Palace? So he's been at Palace, this is his third... Well, it's been there 2.5 years. But again, you go back... This is what I mean by finding bargains out there. Guy was at Genk, and then in Colombia and South America before that. And how much did Palace get him for? This is what I mean. 6.6 million they got him for. Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazily cheap for such a talented player. It really, really is. By the way, if you haven't hit that like button yet, please get that done for us right now on the United Stand, please. We appreciate it massively. Very, very important to us indeed that you get that done as well. Let's jump into some more of your comments here. We don't need more number 10s. We need CMs and wingbacks. Well, it depends on our system again. But if Glasner says, look, I'm going to continue in this, three at the back thing, I think Wharton in the middle would be brilliant. Having a right wing back that can play, yeah, I'd do it. I'd do it. Terry, would you take back Henderson? Look, we haven't seen Lemaines at all yet, but what Ben Jacobs also is great segue point. What he also said this evening is, and I want to make sure I might not have bookmarked this. Let me just go back to the United Stand Twitter page because I don't want to miss this. What was said? What it says here, yeah, it says that some form of new goalkeeper I'm told, will arrive in 2026. So Lemaines hasn't had a chance yet. They always said he was a number. I had a theory around that turns out maybe it isn't right. I thought we were playing Lemaines off as a number 2 to release the pressure so that when he eventually comes into the first team, we'd all lower their expectations to help him. But we are looking at a more experienced goalkeeper in 2026. Which begs the question why we didn't just go and get one this year, because we need a goalkeeper massively. And the one thing I will say, let's just say Lemaines isn't good enough yet. And let's say he's no better than Bayern Dare. What a massive mistake by Ineos. Because that means the new manager coming in is going to lose. Say we do get a new manager, he is going to lose games because of goalkeeping errors, no matter how much better we look. And we can't escape that. We can't escape it at all. Let's have a little look here. Are we, though, the biggest club? Remind me when we last won the league. It hurts seeing Arsenal and Liverpool doing so well. Sir Alex dealt with those two clubs back in the day, and we need to ditch this guy. We are still, again, the way I break it down is this. So there's biggest, and there's the best. The best I look at as a contemporary, a current conversation. Who is the best team currently? United are not the best team currently. In fact, there's about 10 to 15 better than us in the Premier League. But biggest is a different conversation. And this always gets muddied because when people are the best or one of the best, they push to be considered the biggest because they know the crown of biggest is the ultimate goal. Everybody wants to be the biggest club. But the fact that Man United still dominate the airways, the fact that the United Stand exists and still gets more views than any other fan channel in the world every month, in fact, more than most media outlets, shows you the sheer size of Manchester United in comparison. Sheer size! There's a lot of pretenders that do similar things to the United Stand, which adds to those numbers, but look how much the United Stand dominates. It's because the fan base is so big. Now, there's a lot of Man United fans that you and I don't even see because they're asleep. They're not on social media. They're not watching content. They're not participating in conversations. They're sitting at home asleep. And when Man United become a better team again, they will awaken. And the one thing the world hasn't seen yet is a fully functional, engaged Man United fan base online. It doesn't exist. Well, that's not true. It doesn't not exist. It hasn't awoken yet. We have not, dare I say it, assembled. Because there has never been the enthusiasm. When I saw it start to build was... See, when Jose was here, social media still hadn't really... It was just about to blow up. And it blew up just as he was struggling. But that first season under Jose was part of it. But that first 6 months under Ten Hag was when we started to see it come alive. United fans... And do you know what brings it to life? It isn't even winning trophies. It's when football fans start to like and love their team. Now, if Man United said, look, guys, we're broke. We're not going to spend massive money anymore. We're going to reduce our spending. And we're only going to spend the same amount of money as an Everton. Those fans would eventually come alive again because that's who they support. Because their expectations would be tempered. We always get accused of Man United fans thinking we have a divine right to win. We don't. What we look at is how much we spend on wages, how much we spend on salaries, how much we spend on transfer fees, and we get frustrated that we're not winning when it's similar amounts to all the other successful teams in Europe. So you get a lot of disengaged people because it's like for what we're spending and what we're trying to achieve, we're failing. If we were spending 25% of that and were where we'd been in the last 10 years, there'd be less disengaged fans because you can only work within your means. Does that make sense? But let's just put that all to bed and let's move on from that. If Man United in the next 2 to 3 years become a team that competes and fights and is winning titles and Champions Leagues, from a content perspective, from a social media perspective, it's going to be like nothing anybody else has ever seen. Because we are bigger than all of the other English teams. The only one that's near us is Liverpool. The rest of them we are significantly bigger than. We have had our worst 13 years in most people's living memory, and only really in the 70s did it get worse with the relegation. And we're hitting record revenues. A lot of people don't like the revenues is a demonstration of our size. Imagine the revenues we'd be bringing in right now if in the last 10 to 12 years we'd been massively successful. We'd be in the 1.1, 1.2, 1.3 billion mark because the brand deals would be bigger, the sponsorship's bigger. We would have probably already built a new stadium by now because people have been throwing stupid money at us to sponsor us to do it. The reason why it's grown still, but the reason it's slowed down is because there hasn't been no success coupled with it. But we're still such a big name and have such a big fan base that brands and companies are still interested in us. And it's one of the biggest bugbears I have with the people that were advising the Glazers is that they just said, well, the value will grow even if we're not successful. My whole thing was, imagine how much more valuable we'd be for those sons of guns if we'd have been successful at the same time. So annoying. This here says, because it's not the whole problem, I'm sick of players not playing for the shirt, not giving 100%. Listen, I hear there's a lot of players that are guilty of that in this club. A lot. An absolute lot. Everyone was still on Facebook with Jose. Twitter was just about ready to explode. No, I agree, Lawrence. I agree. People haven't seen anything. And you've got a lot of rivals of ours who don't understand how big we are yet, especially the young'uns. And part of me, of course, I want Man United to be successful for the club, the badge, the history, and add to our heritage. But there is this part of me that wants to show people how big this club is. And you think about things like, look at the amount of likes and retweets a post gets when Liverpool win a Champions League or whatever else. And Arsenal, by the way, if they win a Prem or a Champs, those retweets and that engagement's going to be massive. Whatever those numbers are, add 30%, add 50%, add 100% when it comes to Manchester United. If and when those glory days return. That's my view. That's my view. Look, I want to thank you all so much for tuning in on this Thursday evening. It's always humbling to see so many of you here, so many engaging, so many talking. The super chats, thank you. Mark and the team are back tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. as you know, 10, 2 and 8 every single day in the build-up for what's going to be a very, very interesting weekend for Manchester United indeed. Do me a favour, please, and hit the like button before you go. It's so important. Subscribe and get that bell notification button turned on as well. But until next time, take care, goodbye, look after yourselves, be safe, be lucky.